Okay. I want to introduce you to Svelte Anita from San Diego. Hi. It's so nice to meet you.
Ah,
Here we are.
yes. I'm just staring at you. My heart is racing. I feel so honored that we're talking to each other.
I think you said, I'm living in a never ending nightmare that I can't wake up. Those words hit me.
Yeah.
And that's what I prayed. I put into the prayers prior, like, this is what we need to heal so that she can stop this nightmare, God. Can you tell us like how many years or how long you've had this depression?
For about 20 years.
I'm just so happy for you. You have a glow. You really are radiating that love.
Yes.
I
Yes.
would never think that you had what you described. You don't show it at all.
I did, I overdosed twice in my life. I was hospitalized twice. One time for a month, the other time for 4 months with intense therapy, group therapy, one-on-one therapy. I did Ayurveda. Every healing you can think of. I got the taps on my brain. I got the MRI, the brain scan. I got my thyroid check. I had Chinese. You name it. God is the ultimate healer. You are the ultimate vessel healer.
You never gave up hope.
Yes.
Because if I would have thought, okay, you went and saw these healers, you went and saw these doctors, you did all these different sessions, it's like, what's this one gonna do? Right? For some reason you trusted this.
Yes.
I'm
This was
thankful.
it. That was knocking on God's door. That was knocking on God's door saying, what else is there? You're the only door now left. In the beginning, a surgery room. And this is, at that point, we weren't talking. I meditated, right? And I was like, okay, I guess she's starting now. So I laid down and I felt like there are people, doctors in my room, with their doctor things on and their hands like this because they're their gloves, and they were standing in my room. And I remember laying down, looking over, and just starting to cry because I'm terrified of needles and doctors and hospitals. And it wasn't terrifying in that sense, but it's like, okay, this is getting real. This is getting real, and nobody was in the room. And I laid down, and then I already started crying. You're describing your room. Cried. I was absolutely there with you. Spirits came in, and the visuals came in. This is going back. Set spiritual surgery. And I was like, this is how I felt. And my feet were ice cold. Like I would be laying, in the hospital with ice cold feet. And
it's amazing how you were seeing what I was seeing and feeling. Yeah. Did
And
you feel at all when they gave you the medicine? Just
Mhm.
kind of like, I felt at one point you were a little nervous, and then I felt you just kind of like melt into the table.
Yes, you even said they're giving you the IV now.
Did you feel it when you listened?
Yes. Yes. There was no question that there's no answer. There's no answer to how you could have known. It was that the only answer is that we are connected, and your ability to tune in like this and bring me to God and see what I see. How much more validation does the little ego need? And for my ego, it's enough to stop right. The chatter, right?
Right. Like, yeah. I know nothing.
No.
And that's the beauty of it. Only God knows what you need.
Yes.
And the fact you're afraid of needles and you got an IV and it didn't hurt.
Yeah. Yes. So much evidence for God, and that's so much evidence for God and for spirit. and that keeps me so connected. That keeps me praying. I've never prayed like this before.
You have a new relationship,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes,
And so that connection just kind of opened the door to this new relationship. You connected to the frequency that's never going to ever leave you. And now you know it because you feel it.
yeah.
What came through for you was so profound. It was simple, right? But the words had so much meaning to you that I had no idea. Do you want to explain some of that?
Yes. I mean, you took me on a complete journey. It was so clear, and I've been meditating for a little bit, but that intensity I never experienced. And there were things like symbolisms, like Mary Poppins. You know, when you took my hand and we flew into the sky, like Mary Poppins. That Mary Poppins has a huge meaning in my life. I learned English watching Mary Poppins in Germany, watching it over and over and over again. My mom would refer to me as Mary Poppins because I would fly back and forth all the time back to Germany, and the way I packed my stuff, and there was so much coming out that we always said, oh, it's just like Mary Poppins. And my husband says it to me when I pack my things here.
I've never said that in any one of my sessions before, but all of a sudden the vision came where I'm holding it like this, and I'm holding your hand, and we're going up like Mary Poppins. That's the vision of Mary Poppins popped into my mind, and it was like, okay, I'm going with this. But I also felt like by me saying this, you were going to feel safer going to this space.
Yes, yes, very much. I mean, you felt what I felt here, and we were not talking at the same time. I mean, the time we met in spirit, I would say the hour before I got the recording of, I was meditating while you were doing the work in Arizona. And you felt what I was feeling when I felt a little uncomfortable of like coming out of the shell, let's say in that moment of maybe a next phase and facing a challenge. And I felt fearful. You even said you might be feeling a little afraid or cautious, but don't worry. And it was immediately from doing this again, it was like there was the openness again. There was a little bit of, uh-oh. And then, oh, okay, I could relax into that.
Now, we're talking about, to let the viewers know, that there's a point before that all transpired where I said, I'm going to anchor you.
Mm-hmm.
I really had to anchor you. And I thought, if she goes to this space that's peaceful and feels safe and healthy, she's not going to want to return. And so it was made very, very clear that you would be anchored and be effortless, be able to come back. And I can remember my stomach and everything feel like a brick was on my body. How did you feel when I mentioned these things?
I'm so glad you're saying that again, because that was one of the most important things in that session, because that's what I struggled with. If I would get a healing before, I remember 2 times I was up there and I did not want to come back down. Mm-hmm. And I was just crying because I did not want to come back in my body and be on earth. And when you said that, it anchored me at the same time. And it was for me like, okay, I'm gonna go there, but I'm coming back here and I'm gonna integrate what I learned up there, out there on the other side. And I felt it through the days. I still feel it. I still feel the anchoring, even though there's so much happening and there's lightness. And I'm not afraid to, for the waves to come, but there's this I'm anchored. Yeah.
You're anchored, and with that anchor, you also have support.
Yes.
And that's what was important. It's like, I'm going to anchor you, you're going to feel, and you're feeling that lightness and that strong support that you have now, knowing you got this.
Yeah.
And when we talk about going to another dimension, we were having an out of body experience together. So we go to this space. It was just what I got to witness. I wanted to cry at times. I wanted to embrace you. But I witnessed everything and I was speechless. Can you explain what I was seeing, what you were feeling?
Yes. We were in the sky and there was God. God was coming towards us. You were holding my hand, and it transitioned from that to me and my inner child sitting on my lap, and I was holding her and God was holding us, and it just, everything became, as they say, as one. This, if it was air, if it was whatever there was, it was just all one field of warmth and love and support. I mean, this whole time I'm just bawling and crying, and then the angels are singing, and I mean, that was unbelievable.
And that's what I was seeing when you, at one point you had a conversation with God and then you kind of just collapsed, and you were collapsed like this was like letting go. Right?
Yes.
And crying. And then I saw you kind of sitting Indian style. And that's when the child climbed up into your lap. I can recall the words being, as you hold your child, I am holding you because you are my child.
Yes. Yes.
It was
Right.
total unconditional love.
Yes.
Just being held, embraced, and saying, you are perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a part in the session where God talks about your mom and your relationship.
Yes.
Can you share a little bit about what happened?
Yes. We went to heaven, and then you asked actually the question, where is that coming from? God said to the little girl, and you said that to me, this wasn't meant for you. It came through the lineage, and you could see, mom family, dad family coming through the lineage, and I have it on both sides, including suicide, trickled down to me, and it felt like a lineage, it felt like a generational healing.
We call that magnetics, right? The magnetics of your family.
Yeah.
And we were able to cut those cords, but also heal.
I saw, it gives me chills again. I almost saw either family in World War I, World War II, and how they, because of the war, raised their children to then cause them to have anxiety, depression, debilitating self-doubts, to end up with this, to a point where even then someone took his own life.
And think about that. They don't mean it. It's just what's happening in their world, and how it's their journey, their way of surviving. But their energy goes on to you even before you're even born. So now you're going to go visit your mom. Wouldn't it be amazing to see the shift in her without her even knowing that she was part of the healing?
Yes.
What other parts were healed on your body?
My shoulder. When I was meditating, you were doing the session, the recording, which I didn't hear at that point. There was a pinch in my shoulder, like a needle pinch, which made me say, ow. I had stomach pain. I had knee pain. My left knee, I had a toothache, which was spreading through my jaw. And you had the exact same symptoms. So I was very aware in that meditation of my body, to recall all these things, to kind of feel, is that, to match it up with the recording. And it was exactly, you said, oh, you even said ouch in the recording. You said, oh, my head, oh, headache, stomach ache, knee pain. I mean, it was like a checklist. Yep. Together too.
I just find it really fascinating, not only that you dealt with those issues, right? But the fact that you were feeling the same pain I was at the very same time.
Yes.
And that's why I think it's really important for people to understand. I love remote sessions.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
I love that you say that, because that was my favorite part to remember, because in that moment, it was even better that we're not in the same room, because none of my insecurities came up. Do I look funny? Am I crying too loud? Are you okay? Me worrying about you. And it was even better that we were in two different places. I could fully concentrate on myself. I could fully dive in. And when I had this out of body experience, during the session, when I was listening to the recording, there was not a single thought or feeling or that this should be in person, you should be there, and it did not matter at all. It was even, I felt it even stronger. I felt the higher intelligence, the wisdom, the healing, the love, just through energy, not being, and now that we weren't in person, there's not this attachment of like, oh, I need to go back and be in person with her. Right. I can sit here and in me, and I can for a second just close my eyes and think of you, think of his says, think of the feelings I had, and know that it was true, and I can go back to it every time.
How have you felt since?
There's more calmness in my head. The chatter is way less. There's more acceptance of myself. I mean, it was the first time that I felt really taken serious for, what I have with depression and anxiety. There's so much compassion and so much love. I feel more empowered, more anchored, more connected to spirit.
Well, one of the things you mentioned is the shift. You felt the shift.
Yes.
I always say that it's like your body just had a major shift. It's like you're no longer the same, right? You had that awareness you talked about. You're in this space, you're given knowledge, you're given tools. You were given tools for your anxiety, and things that you can implement and take back with you to work on. But was also kind of looking at a reflection of who you are in that other side, remember? And saying, and I remember this, it was kind of like I saw almost a gray. Remember, I described it as there was this grayness.
Yes.
And I said, oh, that has to go. That has to be all light.
Yeah.
And it just diminished in time, that part, that weight, that heaviness on you. That's what I call it. It just kind of disintegrated.
The swirl, a wind swirl, right?
Yes, I remember that. I actually heard the wind outside come hit my wall. At the same time, I'm like, it's spiraling off of you. And then I heard it. And did you hear that?
I didn't hear the wind. But I felt the whoosh. You did. And I could envision it. And I envision it now. When there's something comes up that gives me a little I envision the little gray fog as like a little twister, and like twisting away. Yeah. So that's a tool at the same time you gave me too, as a visualization of letting it fly away.
And to know that what you're feeling and what you're going through is real, and that it's okay to feel that way. But how can we remove that side and replace it with that light and love? And it was embracing yourself.
Yes. Oh, yes. I was literally holding myself, my inner child. I finally picked up I have a little monkey. I could not hug my monkey like that for years, because I would just cry. So I always had him here, from my childhood. But now there's more openness to actually crying and feeling my emotions.
Oh,
And
that's wonderful. It's not just held like deep where you can't cry,
yes,
right?
so I can now actually hold him and let the tears come and cry for a second, and for let it be the years I spent in depression, hiding, isolating, or for that little girl that had to go through things. And now I can hold her, my monkey, and cry and say thank you. Look at it,
Come, I remember seeing the
petting
little
it like a
girl
dog.
and describing her and having you look into her eyes. Did you remember that part?
Yes,
And did you see her?
yes, yes. I had exactly what you said, the shoulder length hair. I had a little blue dress. And feels like what the pain or what that maybe caused that depression and anxiety was like pulled out, and I could see that in the little girl. And there was so much compassion, which was a huge lack too, the self-compassion for what I was going through. And I had so much compassion for that little girl, for myself.
Makes you cry.
Yeah.
It really does, because it's like the way God brought it forth was so beautiful, because he wanted you to see yourself how he sees you. And
Mm-hmm.
he knew that if you looked at a child, that then you would have the compassion for that child, have that compassion for yourself. You wanted her to be not healed, not to feel this way anymore, so that you wouldn't carry it into the life that you have now.
Yes.
The whole thing, I was blown away.
Yes. That was huge.
It was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And it's been a big part in her child work, and having her come out again that way, and being part of this. Yeah. That was very, very meaningful. Yeah.
The whole thing. I
Yeah.
can't thank you enough for taking the time to step into this and to trust it.
Thank
Because
you. Yeah.
so nice to see you smiling.
Yes. I remember when I sent you the picture, and I looked at it again, and God, that was such a great day. And this is what it feels like. It just feels like there's a fog, there's a veil in front of you, and you, between despair and numbness, you're just in that fog. And it's I almost forgot about that, because it's so, there's such a big shift.
Oh, wow, that's
It didn't even come
beautiful.
into my mind anymore. I'm so much more in the now, and I don't think about how it's like looking forward without looking back. It's almost like, okay, we did that, we went there, it feels so much like a closed door.
That's
And I
beautiful.
love that I see your door on your there's the new open door.
What I love about what you just said is that was my past. I totally forgot about it. Do you know what you said? I mean, you held that for 30 some
20.
years,
Mm-hmm.
and it was that debilitating. And we're talking and you forgot about that kind of feeling. Sometimes people, when they're healed, right? Let's say you have a knee pain and that knee pain goes away. You forget what that knee pain felt like.
Yeah.
This is great that you
Yes.
no longer feel that way.
Yes.
I thank God for that, because you know what? That was my wish, my intention, and you received it. I wish I could just really hug you.
Me too. Me too. I'm still in awe, and I I went for a hike a minute ago, and I just sat in the tree, on the tree stump on the ground, and I just stared at the tree and at the leaves flying. And I remember a week before I went there, and it was just like, rah, you know, all the thoughts and this and worry and blah, blah, blah.
You feel free,
Yeah,
totally free.
yeah. It was a journey like no other, more real than anything real. We
Isn't
think
that
it's
so
real.
true? Because I get done with this session and I'm like, okay, what just transpired? What is she going to think about that Mary Poppins? Like, oh my gosh, that was so cool that I also had to sit with gratitude because I just witnessed something I knew that was really, really amazing. I could feel it within me. And look at the miracle that transpired. Absolutely beautiful.
I walked out of my room after and thought, what just happened? Was that real? Did I dream that? And I went back to the recording. It's like, no, it actually happened.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
Um, I just want to thank you for sharing your story with everybody.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
No,
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much. Words cannot describe how grateful I am. And that you are actually exist in a body here on earth. Thank you so much. I love you. And we'll stay in touch.
I love you too. Please.
Yes.
Much love to you. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening to this. This is just a beautiful, beautiful story. It touches on all levels, emotional, physical, and spiritually. And please tune in again. And thank you for listening. Bye for now.